Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Patreon podcast. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about 2023, which is flipping wild to say. It still feels like I'm in 2020 for some reason, but I don't think I'm alone with that. So I have been planning kind of what I want to do next year, and I figured I would kind of go through some of the process of things that I wanted to take care of and things that I wanted to explore a little bit more, and maybe some changes to the Patreon itself. I'm not entirely sure, and honestly, I think things are always fluid for me when I kind of approach this stuff. So I don't use this as a way to make guarantees, but I just kind of want to talk through my process, and if people want to respond to me in the comments, I'm more than happy to listen to it. So first of all, I have a very busy release schedule for 2023 already. I scheduled the end of almost everything for February. Season 16 of the 2-Hour Track Challenge is in March. May is the Patreon exclusive Quiet Spaces Volume 3, but it's also the distribution of Journey Without, Journey Within, which was the first Patreon exclusive album. June is season 17 of the 2-Hour Track Challenge. And July is Let the World Forget Us, which is the National Solo Album Month from 2021 that I never really finished. So I want to work on that a little bit more. Thankfully, all of the stuff that I've mentioned above is pretty much already completed, except for the Quiet Spaces stuff. But those are usually pretty quick because they're very ambient albums. Then we move into August with the Community Remix album. I haven't decided which song we're going to be remixing yet, but there's still some time before we have to make that decision. September, I wanted to make another Cuddlecore album, like the album Hey. Tentatively right now, I wanted to call it Crush. And just kind of cute, boopy music. I think Hey was only 4 songs, and I kind of wanted to keep that same vibe. So probably like 4 or 5 songs, short, cute, that kind of stuff. Lo-fi. October, season 18 of the 2-Hour Track Challenge. November is a Bandcamp only release called Orphans. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, because I have this folder of stuff that really doesn't have an album to go into. So they're like, if I work on a soundtrack and it has like 3 songs and the game really isn't really released anywhere, I just have these songs and I don't know what to do with them. So I wanted to release kind of this Orphans, basically a collection of like 50 or 60 songs that never really got a home. So hopefully I can make that happen. And then December is season 19 of the 2-Hour Track Challenge. And then February of 2024 is National Solo Album from 2023. Which tentatively, again, I wanted to maybe name Exist and Persist, which is a name that I came up with, I think like a year and a half ago. And I wanted to do something with it, but really I'm not gonna lock in anything for the National Solo Album Month until probably like August. But so I have a lot of album stuff. And like I mentioned, a lot of this music is already done to some capacity. Aside from Crush and Quiet Spaces and finishing up Let the World Forget Us, which really the songs are done. It's all about cleaning up the songs that exist. So it sounds like a lot of work, but it's not. The other thing that I really, really want to get into next year is finishing this ebook for how to write a song in 2 hours. It was something that I started planning this in like 2018, and I actually started writing it this year in 2022, but I didn't get very far just because life happened. I think in the midst of when I was writing a lot and trying to contribute a lot to the book, that's when my kidney stones started flaring up again. And then I had, problems with all that. And I got distracted with recovery there, and, it just kind of fell by the wayside. But beyond that, the real big thing for me that I'm not really sure how I'm going to manage it is the 2-Hour Track Challenge. And I wanted to just kind of talk about my feelings on this. For starters, I still plan on making a song a week. That's not changing. That's kind of the whole thing with the Patreon, and I don't want to change how that works. However, having a 2-hour time limit is great, but it's also very limiting in a lot of very frustrating ways sometimes. My goal is to get as many episodes of the 2-hour track challenge as Bob Ross did of The Joy of Painting, which I believe is 408. Let me check. Joy of Painting episodes. Number of episodes? 403. So not hard. I think that gets me to about mid-August, maybe later in the year. Cause I think I'm at like 371 right now. Having said that, I don't want to stop doing the 2-hour track challenge. I just want to maybe change the format of how I do my streams. And then just do a 2-hour track challenge when I'm not feeling anything else, or if I don't have any other projects going on. Because one of the things that I've noticed is that I have this time set aside, and there's a lot of things that I'd love to work on, but I have this obligation to do the 2-hour track challenge instead of, working on whatever other projects. And sometimes that's awesome because I get inspired and I do something new and fresh that I wasn't planning on doing. And I kind of veer off in this whole other direction and start messing around with things that I haven't done in a long time. And that's fantastic. But more often than not, this obligation to do the 2-hour track challenge is something that, I don't know. It's not like draining on me, but it's taking time away from things that I'd love to work on instead. So I would still be doing the Wednesday stream where I make a song, and maybe the timeline for that is I just sit down and I work for 3 hours or 4 hours or however long it takes for me to like bang out a good idea for a song. And then we can go from there. I mean, the one really nice thing about having a structured time limit is that I know that the process will be over at some point, and for better or worse, the song will come out of it in the end. And I really do like that. I think that that's really important and valuable, but I'm also sometimes not happy with the songs that come out. And I want to be a little bit more proactive on checking my quality more than quantity. I feel like I've got the quantity part down, but I want to get better at what I do and not just flail around until something cool happens. So the thought that I have is that I would spend the first 30 to 45 minutes of every Wednesday stream making a loop of some kind, whether that's piano or like electronic or chill out or whatever, like something that I can still share with you guys, but also maybe something that I could eventually market for like game developers or other media producers on itch.io or somewhere similar. And I think that still fulfills the goal of the Patreon, where I'm still providing a song every week, exclusive for starters. And maybe, after a year or so, I can start releasing those as packs for the broader audience who don't want to subscribe. But I think that after I make that loop, then I'm free to just kind of do whatever I want with the rest of the stream, whether that's starting a new song or working on an album or anything music related. Maybe that's actually like sitting down and trying to learn something new, whether that's like a new music theory technique or like some piano stuff, or maybe guitar or bass guitar or any of that stuff. Like I feel like I want to use that streaming time as education time because I want to continue growing as an artist. And lately I feel like I've been plateauing, which again is fine. I feel like my skill level is very, very good. And I have a great set of knowledge, but I want to explore different ways of doing that. And having a time limit, as great as it is, having a time limit for like finishing projects, sometimes having that time limit is really detrimental when it comes to exploring and experimenting and learning, because there are things where I'm just like, hey, that's a really cool idea, but I don't have the time to figure that out right now because I have 45 minutes left, like I can't always just dive into an experimental like theory kind of thing. I have to set aside time for that. And if I have a clock ticking down, I can't do that at all. So that's kind of the big change that I have planned. But again, that's late 2023 because I have to get to that 403 episode number. And honestly, it's probably just going to be like whenever I pass 403, the end of that season will be the tentative end of the 2-hour track challenge, at least temporarily. I'm still doing the 2-hour album challenge, which happens every 3 months. So that'd be January, April, July, and October. So that's still happening, but I'll just do the 2-hour track challenges whenever I feel that I want to do something and I want to maybe jam something out. And then other times I'll just do a little loop, and those will be available to everybody, and not just like the $10 a month people, because that's still like the song a week thing. The whole payment structure for Patreon, I'm not really sure. I would really, really love to consolidate everything down into like a $5 a month tier. I feel that having 3 different tiers is confusing, and I don't know if the value is distributed evenly among them. That's something that I need to think about more. That I'm not making any decisions on that for a little bit. I was also thinking about Discord memberships and turning my Discord community into a membership server where it's essentially the same thing as the Patreon, except that you can actually like talk to people. I really would like to look into that a little bit more. Again, I'm not making any drastic changes anytime soon, but it's just something where it's like, I would love to have the ability to talk to people. And I feel that Patreon is not great at like building community, where I post something and then it's kind of hard to get to the replies. And then if you do reply, sometimes the notifications are a bit janky, and it's really hard to create that relationship. And that's very important to me, that relationship between the people who support me, and how I create and distribute content. I really want to have a very tight knit, close eye on that. And right now it feels very loose. And I feel that that's just the Patreon platform and not necessarily how I'm approaching the distribution of the content, but I don't know. Again, like if you're listening to this and you have thoughts, I would love to hear them in the comments or on the Discord if you follow me there, or Twitter or whatever. Above and beyond that, I just want to keep working on games. That's the other big thing. I don't have anything specific planned yet. I know that I worked on a game called Darkness Sleeps at the end of this year, or kind of in the middle of this year, and it kind of fell off after that. But there's a lot of little game ideas that I would love to try to make. I recently played through a game called Forager again, which is a little kind of collection mining and resource gathering and crafting kind of game. And I feel that there's a lot of really cool ideas that you can do with that I would love to try. But again, like game development takes a lot of time, and I want to make sure that I am not overdoing it when it comes to how I approach my process. Because, even though a lot of the albums that I listed are quote unquote done or close enough to done where I could just release them whenever I wanted, I still have to do mix downs for all the 2-hour track challenge seasons. I have to do like polishing and finishing on all those. I still have to make the songs for half of these, and like putting together the Orphans album is actually going to be a lot of work because some of those songs were written in like 2016. And even though I don't really care if they sound older, I do want to make sure that I make them I do a good mix down on them, and I do a good polishing, and I make sure that they're as good as they can be, but I'm not going to be going in and like tweaking synths or anything unless it's really egregious. So it sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot, but it is a lot of work. If that makes any kind of sense. And that's really like the main thing. Like I've been looking at my Trello board through a lot of this and just kind of figuring out like if there's anything else in here that I really want to focus on next year. And honestly, there's a lot of ideas that I'd love to dive into, but I also don't want to overburden myself. And honestly, I have enough on here already. And I know that more things will appear as time goes on. So I don't want to push myself too far in that direction and over obligate myself. Just like last year, I will be doing a text post for like the overview for this year, like a wrap up and my plans for 2023. I post that on Patreon, public post every year. That's really important to me because it not only allows me to stay accountable with what I do, but it allows me to show like where my revenue came from, where my expenses went, some of my favorite songs of the year, my plans for next year. And like, I can look, I actually have the page open right now for last year for 2020 planning and like host 4 2-hour album challenges. We did that. Host 2 single remix events. We only did 1 remix album this last year, but I think it was good. Finished Let the World Forget Us. That's almost done. Another Patreon exclusive album that's done. Released Pandemonium. We did that. Continue to grow a community. Look for physical merch. I didn't really do the physical merch one this year. I did do the USB drives, and I'm very proud of those. And I want to maybe look into doing more physical media next year, but I don't really know what capacity I want to do that in. I got some more woodworking tools for Christmas, and I want to look into that more. But that's kind of my hobby to a hobby, really. I really don't want to try to monetize that the same way that I do music, because that's really something that I just want to do for me to get away from all of this other stuff. If I just want to take some time away from the computer, I can go out to the shed and I can do some woodworking and make something neat there. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. It's kind of, I feel like next year is going to be a good year. I know that we've all had apprehension about the past couple of years, and I feel that it's been tough, but I think that, I think things are going to get better. At least in the very least, I think people are becoming a little bit more, open to, collaboration again, and maybe some in-person events. I'm not entirely sure how things are going to go for me because my health situation is a little different, with my wife doing, at-home care for some immunocompromised people. But, I think that I would love to start doing collaborations again and working with other people and making new friends. And I really want next year, 2023 to be a social year, a year where I can, focus on and growing connections and trying to figure out how to just make this little network that I've created bigger and stronger. Because the more the network grows, the more that everybody in that network grows, because it's not about me really. It's about everybody who participates in it. So that's my goal anyway. And I hope that I can help facilitate that a little bit more. But that's pretty much it for this. Again, like if you did listen to all this and you have questions, feel free to reach out to me in whatever platform you feel is appropriate. Patreon's fine, but if you have Discord or Twitter or email or whatever, that's fine too. So I really, really do genuinely appreciate your support this past year. I know it's been kind of rough, but we're getting through it. And I think that we're coming out the other end better people for it. It's just kind of a rough ride. So anyway, thank you so much. I love you all. And I I was just going to snap it off. No, we got to do the whole thing. I hope that you have a fantastic Friday and a wonderful weekend. And I will see you, or I'll talk to you in the next episode, which is going to be in 2023. So I have a topic for the first one, but I've really been struggling with a backlog for these. So I really want to try to get a backlog going again. But that's it for now. Like I said, love you all. I hope you have a good new year, and I'll talk to you later. Be remarkable.